Lisa Saunders with PAC-B TV out of Baldwinsville, New York. And I have a special guest because she's from Mystic, Connecticut, which is where I'm most recently from. And her name is Liz Saede, and she is the author of Lobster Summer. Welcome.
Hi, Lisa. Thanks for inviting me.
Now, like Baldwinsville, New York, Mystic, Connecticut is a river community, but you're also close to the ocean. And that's where you have to catch lobsters, right? You can't catch them in a river.
Can't catch,
right?
Well, I don't know if they hang out there, but I've never tried. No, I do. I catch them out in the ocean. I look for rocky areas that are good for catching lobster, but also good for eating my lobster pots. So it's a little bit dangerous and a little bit risky each time I do that.
And it's what's the bay called? Are you in the Fisher's Island Sound?
I am in Fisher's Island Sound. So Fisher's Island is this little island right off the coast of Stonington and Groton, Connecticut. It's technically New York State, but I don't understand why, because it's still 30 miles from New York, whereas it's only 3 miles from Connecticut. I think somebody won it in a card game or something, but so I'm in Fisher's Island Sound, which is a little bit protected by Fisher's Island. And that's where I have all my lobster gear. Most of it's right off the coast of Stonington. And what I do is I use fish racks, which is the fish minus the edible fillets. It's all the yucky stuff you wouldn't want anyway. Lobsters love it, and it draws them in from afar. And one of the things,
pretty wild out there. People think, oh, that sounds calm, but I was out on the boat with you, and it was actually a nice day, and it was still a little scary. Those waves against the rocks. Have you ever had any scary times?
Quite a few. I did manage to go over my own rope one time and have it wrap around my propeller, which came very close to smashing me against the rocks that I was up against. It's not the safest hobby, but it's rewarding, and it's fresh air and sunshine, and it's the ocean. So I'm laughing because I remember that day with you on the water, and it was one of the most calm days, because I know you don't like choppy ocean. So I invited you out on the calmest of days. So but I had another friend out, and it was a pretty calm day, but every single wave pushes us a little closer to those rocks. And she got very nervous, and she said, "You have to get away from the rocks." And I said, "I can't. That's where the lobsters live, and that's where my gear is. That's what lobstering is."
Well, now you learned all of this late in life. When I met you in Mystic, you moved, I think, there a little after I lived there in 2010. When did you move to that area?
2010, fall of 2010. I was nearing my 50th birthday when I moved to Mystic, and honestly, there was just something about being in this area. One of the life changes was, instead of working 60 hours a week, I had a little more time to do something else, which was fun, but very strange to me to have time for a hobby. But it was being invited to go kayaking, and then ending up really catching my own lobster. Now, that being said, part of the reason that turned out so funny is all of that happened because my husband was really concerned about my well-being. But now I'm doing something that's pretty dangerous by myself most of the time.
I know you are by yourself in a relatively small boat, and we don't have time now, but I really want to have you on again where we could talk more about it, like other lobstermen, like making a big wake with their boat. It kind of gets competitive out there, but we'll talk about that another time. Do you actually talk about that in your book? What do you talk about in your book, Lobster Summer? Can you see it?
Well, I talk about a bunch. Yeah, no, here it is. So I ended up doing a bunch of things. One of the things is I took everybody step by step through what it's like to catch lobsters. And I sort of chuckle a little bit while I'm writing it and while people are reading it, because had I known how smelly it was, how physically difficult it was, I may not have been that interested if it had all been presented to me at one time instead of as a nice clean cage as a gift. So but part of it was too, it was sort of my my love letter to the Mystic area. I share some of my favorite things about living in this town.
Right, so it's
My,
not just about lobstering. It's about you moving to an area with a totally different culture and figuring out a way to embrace it. And you like went overboard, I think, in becoming a lobster person.
that it is a little odd. It gets people's attention. I completely reinvented myself here. And what's been wonderful about that is I didn't realize it at the time, but I was doing what lots of people do. You get to a certain point in your life and say, what am I waiting for? And you just start saying yes to things because you think, if I don't say yes now, will I get a chance to do this again? And the reality is I might not. And I didn't want to miss out on anything else. So that turned out terrific because I started saying yes to, not all scary things or challenging things, but one of the things I did that I was shocked at how much of a positive impact it had on my life was I took an online photography course that is specific to iPhones.
Ah, good.
And I'd never taken a photography course before, and I don't know why I felt so compelled to do it, but fast forward, I regularly write articles and in print and in digital form for the website, for now newspapers and magazines and all
What
kinds of
website
things.
is that? Because people can find you, find your recipes. I mean, of course, they can get your book and learn a lot about what it's like to become a lobster person. And you have recipes. You're actually a chef. So that's kind of fun that you include recipes in a lot of your work. So what's the website you write for?
It's thisismystic.com.
Okay, and how can we find you? Because your name's a little hard to spell. Show us your book again so people can see how you spell your name and just spell it. Because if you know how to spell Saede, we can find you online, right? If people Google you.
It is super easy to find me online, and my articles, my last name is spelled S as in Sam, A-E, D as in David, E.
Okay.
And it's really, if you're interested, it's super easy to find out. Probably the first thing that'll pop up is thisismystic.com because I have so many articles there about all these different things. But so the neat thing about the photography course was every article I submitted, they wanted original photos. And so it turned out I started getting very good at the photography, so much so that one recent article I was hired to do, they wanted to use their own photography. And I had several friends reach out to me and say, what happened? Those photos were terrible. So I knew I was doing a good job the rest of the time because it was noticeable when they weren't my own. But some of the other things that I've been able to do, I've sort of become an unofficial tour guide and cheerleader for the Mystic area because everything I do, the magazine, the website, these local articles, they are all focused here on helping people to understand all that is available.
So people from Baldwinsville, because we're a river community too, so if they like the water, I think they should come visit Mystic because it's not that far of a drive, and they could look up at This Is Mystic and find lots of things like your articles, how to get to different restaurants by boat, and you have the best burgers in town. You have lists of articles, right? Best happy hours or whatever. Although, I mean, I know life has changed because of COVID, but restaurants are opening up again, right?
They are opening up and they do have some new guidelines, but really one of the beautiful things about Mystic is there are so many gorgeous views and you can sit and enjoy food and enjoy those views. So we're an easy trip from almost anywhere, and there's so much to do. Of course, we have the big places like Mystic Seaport and Mystic Aquarium, and they're wonderful. They're wonderful. But there's so much to do. You can't possibly do it all in one trip. And I am a big fan of the area. I never knew I could really fall in love with the town. I have officially adopted Mystic as my own, so you can't pry me away anymore.
Well, I love it that you're now the editor, or what are you, the content coordinator for a magazine? Tell us about that.
Yep,
and this is all new stuff to you. Like you never knew how to do something like that, and now you coordinate content and edit it and do all these things.
That's true, and Mystic Neighbors is so super focused just on the immediate area of Mystic, and which encompasses actually 2 different towns. What's nice about that is, there's a featured person or family every month, and we have activities, events, and we always have a recipe, and there are other things in there just very specific to the area. And what's nice about that is it's all positive content. It's always getting to know your neighbors a little better. It's always, what can I do that's fun? How can I help somebody else? We've got a volunteer section.
Somebody, I see the magazine behind you, and he's is he a shipwright? The guy you have sitting in the hull of a ship that he's building?
He is a shipwright. His name is Andrew, and he is rebuilding an Irish lugger called Rosalind that's 100 years old. He's rebuilding it from scratch, and he's from Ireland. So that was a really terrific story. So you just never know. I think everybody's got a great story, and part of the reason for the magazine to exist is really to introduce neighbors to each other. And it's just fun because every single person or family has a great story, and my job is to bring it out so that people really enjoy learning about each other. And what's fun about all this is everything I've done in the last 5 years pretty much has involved some sort of skill or technology that I had no clue how to do ahead of time.
Right. Like you're also the marketing manager for Best-Selling Author, who everybody can see her books in the local bookstores.
Tish Robbie.
Writes children's books, and
170. Yep, 170 children's books, including a Dr. Seuss series. She was hired by the Dr. Seuss Foundation after Dr. Seuss passed. She's written 170 books, and she's got her own content as well. So it's been wonderful working for her. She's an absolutely brilliant woman, and she's opened my eyes to see things differently. And I subconsciously rhyme a lot more now, which is just funny. I just naturally rhyme a little bit more, especially when I'm writing. But getting back to resources, realizing you want to try something new and not knowing how to do it, I found my local library was a treasure trove of information. And I don't just mean books. There are people there that can help you learn technology. You can take free classes. I've gone in with my laptop and just said, I'm having this funky problem. Can you help me with it? And there's always somebody there willing to help. And they've helped me many, many times. I've taken several classes through score.org.
Yes, and that SCORE's all over the country, so people can look at SCORE. And you said the SCORE in your area is still holding free classes online, right?
They are. They shifted gears. So
Okay, so I'm wondering, I didn't check. I wanted to check before our show, but I'm sure our local SCORE is doing the same thing. So people can look up SCORE. How else can people learn classes? Maybe just doing a query in YouTube. How do you do XYZ, right?
Honestly, I use YouTube quite a bit. Whenever I'm stuck with something, it's easier to ask YouTube how to do something and see if somebody's already done a video. I'm, like most people, I'm a visual learner. I can read and I can try to figure out how to do things with guidelines. But boy, I sure love to just click on a video and watch somebody show me step by step how to do it. Right. So YouTube's really good for that. And one little side tip, when I was looking to self-publish my book, I certainly didn't know how to do that. But Amazon's KDP section of their business has all kinds of templates and guidelines, step by step, how to self-publish. It is less daunting than you can imagine. So if you've been thinking you'd like to write a book and publish it, but you think, I don't know if this is the kind of story that I can bring to a publisher, please publish it anyway. I can't even tell you how extraordinary it felt to have my book available. And it's on Amazon.com. It's very easy to find. And
show us again. Show us your book again.
Amazon.com, baby.
Lobster Summer by Elizabeth Saede.
Yep, so, and that cool picture, by the way, that's my granddaughter, who was 4 at the time.
Does she like to go out with you lobstering?
She does. She really does. She lives an hour away, so we just get to do it a few times a year. But my goodness, does that young girl love to eat lobster with butter. She can pack away as much as I can catch.
Well,
So
you have great recipes that our people can find right on This Is Mystic and in your book. Is that where people can mostly find your recipes? Because I know you have them in the Mystic magazine, but that might not be as easily.
those are harder to find.
But
So
you have a lot on the internet, right?
if you specifically like seafood recipes, yes, I have some in the book. But also there's one article called Secrets of the Fish Counter that I wrote for thisismystic.com, and that includes all kinds of tips. And I wrote that again from the perspective of I used to cook everything, but I never cooked fish. And I moved to the shoreline, and then I learned how, and it wasn't as daunting, and it was easier and more fun and more delicious, and probably healthier than I realized.
So for people who don't maybe want to go out lobstering and don't want to self-publish a book or edit a magazine, they can start by doing something new by checking out your recipes and learning how to cook fish.
Absolutely that. And I just have to say that one of the things that has profoundly changed my life these last almost 10 years now is I just kept seeking new opportunities and saying yes. That meant doing a ropes course with my daughter and granddaughter, high off the ground.
Course.
I know. Who knew?
What is a ropes course?
Well, you've got all kinds of climbing mechanisms way up high.
Right.
I did that twice, but I did it with them.
Wow.
So that was pretty crazy. So here's the thing. I say yes more often. I don't do crazy stuff, but I mean,
I think lobstering's a little crazy since I've gone out with you, but anyway.
it is a little bit, but here's the fun part. I didn't know I could write a book until I did it.
Right.
I didn't know I could get paid to write articles until I tried.
Right.
I didn't know I could put together a PowerPoint presentation and do very engaging presentations that people would love. I still do those. And I just didn't know I could do any of these things until I tried. And it didn't mean I didn't have speed bumps. I had some failures. But for the most part, it was fun. It taught me things. One of the things that has been fun working with Tish Robbie is she kept saying, well,
the children's author.
The children's author, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is, she'd say, well, can we try this? And I'd say, okay, I'll see if I can figure it out. And we did that again and again. So I have all kinds of skill sets that, rudimentary, but skill sets that I absolutely didn't have before I met her. She challenges me to be better. And everyone's
great about friends, right? Friends, we can all move each other to be better. And I'd love to have you back. We're running out of time. I would love to have you back so you could show us something about because you have a lot of lobster props. So that would be kind of fun. For those of us who don't really want a lobster, but at least imagine ourselves lobstering, I'd love to come and ask you about that and maybe more about self-publishing for somebody who might want to do that. So Elizabeth, will you come back on again?
I would love to.
Okay. Well, it was so nice to see you, and thanks for joining us on Zoom, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.